One of the most evocative ways of actually improving how we move in swing is have a very, very different definition of the end of the swing, that final frame. So in many ways, we can't have a direction unless we actually understand and attempt in what direction are we trying to. There's many definitions we can use in life that really use the end to define the movement. The end, in some ways, the end defines the movement. Examples being, say, a GPS, a sat nav. We put this coordinates in. The route is then mapped based on we're here, you wish to go there. How do we get there? For example, things like, say, 100-meter sprints is all based on the end line. How do we move out those start blocks to get to that end line as fast as we can? And in many ways, it's also defined, say, the coaching concept. We can't start a coaching session unless we actually have a very, very defined objective on how we want that session to end. So really what defines the session, what in some ways maps out the session, is based on at what point in time and when the player is moving in what way do we wish to end that session. So the end in many ways is the main objective, is to then how we actually start that coaching session. So in a very kind of playful way, we look at how movement is almost mapped in the brain. Movement is anticipated, we then detect it, we become aware of it, we then create a perception, we perceive it, we then action that movement. That lovely kind of interaction between movement anticipation, movement detection, movement perception, movement action. So when we start to give a very different definition of the end of the swing, that final frame and swing, that can be one of the more playful ways, one of the more evocative ways of actually then shifting and improving one's perception of how we hold at address and stand at address, how we move through backswing in transition, and then how we deliver that club into impact. So using that end position, the idea being how we forward plan movement. The brain maps movement way in advance. The brain is doing way before it does. One of the more playful ways of really improving all phases of swing and all areas within how we move, when we start to define the end in a very, very different way, the route, the map, how we move through time and space to produce that end can then be one of the more playful ways and more evocative ways that are really improving how someone moves and performs in the goals. And so the value of the end, the importance of the end, we can't have a direction unless we understand the end. The end in many ways actually then defines how we begin and move in swing.